to be here. My name is Werner Sauerwald. I'm head of programs and sales in Rheinmetall Automechanica in Mediaș, Romania. And it's my task now to present here Rheinmetall, the company as such, and of course our footprint here in Romania. Rheinmetall was founded more than 125 years ago, and here are our key business figures. Of course, still growing figures of last year, especially the financial figures, but also as well the numbers of employees growing continuously. As Rheinmetall started as a company working in mainly cannons, weaponry, now covering all aspects, all dimensions, with our 5 divisions and our branches, and so to speak all sectors of modern warfare, air defense, the digital world, the naval systems, the vehicle systems classically, and the weapons and ammunition, of course, to sum it up. I will go quickly through the 5 divisions and 5 branches, starting with air defense. Air defense, another topic that became more and more important, and in the last years, especially through Ukraine and the drone topics that we already heard a lot during the conference. So of course, Rheinmetall's air defense division is covering that, countering of course drone and air threats as well. Then second division, digital systems, based in Bremen, covering the digital sector, meaning software mainly, but also, of course, effector systems, sensor systems, digital projects of all nature, and simulation and training as well for all our systems, but also simulation for other systems. Then coming to the naval systems, our newest division, of course, with the acquisition of Lürssen, the defense branch of Lürssen. Now Rheinmetall is pretty new in the field of ships, shipbuilding, and of course, a new field, of course, with an experienced partner, with also a long history as Lürssen has, and of course, being now currently integrated with all areas of shipbuilding, service and repair, but also autonomous technologies for naval systems, and as well as a big international footprint here as well. Then of course here kind of my home turf, the vehicle systems, as this is where my history in Rheinmetall began. Of course with our traditional and well-known systems, from heavy tracked systems, of course, to infantry fighting vehicles, as well as artillery and support systems. As well as, of course, the wheeled platforms, as, of course, the famous and well-known Fuchs, Boxer, as well as smaller vehicles, 4x4 vehicles, Caracal, Survivor, and Ermine. So a fleet, a full variety of vehicles from tracked to wheeled, but also, of course, not to forget the logistical vehicles. The logistical vehicles meaning mainly trucks, militarized trucks, with our joint venture partner MAN. Of course, with the joint venture between Rheinmetall and MAN, we built the militarized trucks and military trucks for special uses, as you can see. Then, following the weapons and ammunition branch and division, as I said, kind of the most traditional division of Rheinmetall, with the fields, of course, of projects, indirect fire, direct fire, propulsion systems, and protection systems. So also, of course, the different fire systems, but also protection systems are here in this division. So also various countermeasures, as well as active and passive protection, is handled within this division. Additionally, of course, to all ammunition and other topics. Good. Then, last but not least, of course, our footprint in Romania. As I have promised, Rheinmetall Automechanica, founded over 2 years ago now in Mediaș, of course, the tradition of Automechanica, the long tradition of Automechanica. I always like to say, of course, that in the factory already Messerschmitt fighter jets were built during the times of World War II. So now kind of the German footprint is continued here, of course, in a different sense, and Rheinmetall is now in the Automechanica factory in Mediaș. So here you can see Mediaș, who doesn't know it, of course, in the middle of Romania, but also, of course, as I said, all our dimensions and divisions will be kind of represented here in Romania with of course, vehicles in Mediaș, where we already built parts for Caracal and parts for Lynx are currently already built in Mediaș, as well as, of course, the legacy business and old business of Automechanica. So various trucks, truck components, truck superstructures, and so on. But of course, as you can see, ammunition, as well as powder, and as well as shipyards are in planning here under the patronage of Rheinmetall, and this is a great future. We are looking forward, and this ends my speech. We are here. We are, of course, also on BSDA, and happy, of course, to see you there on our booth and discuss everything. Happy for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Piotr MAŁECKI. I'm from Defense24 from Poland. I would like to introduce my distinguished guests. First of all, Mr. Irineu DARÂU, Minister of Economy, Romania. Welcome, Minister. Mr. General Volodymyr HAVRYLOV, former Deputy Minister of Defense from Ukraine. Dr. Björn from Rheinmetall Landsysteme. Hello. And Mr. Éric from Thales Group. Thank you. Hello. So thank you very much. We will start discussion about, I think, very hot topic case. Very hot because it's new financial and not only financial instrument. We are talking about SAFE project inaugurated last month. Last Friday, Poland is the first country to sign agreement with the European Union for more than almost 45 billion euro. Next country under the Poland is Romania, with almost 17 billion euro of this loan. It's huge money for our industry, but also for our European, because not only for our country, but for our European security. So this program is absolutely crucial for our countries, because it's a great chance for our industries, for our strategy defense sector, for also to armaments of our army. My first question, I would like to move to His Excellency Mr. Minister Irineu DARÂU. Romania is a Black Sea frontline country. Of course, our countries like Romania, Poland, Czech Republic, and Baltic countries are all of our countries are frontline Eastland countries. And but our countries, I mean Poland and Romania, are the biggest SAFE beneficiaries. From your perspective, Minister, from the Minister of Economy, what is the first test of success? Faster deliveries, of the equipment, new industrial capacity in Romania, or deeper European interoperability between companies, between defense industries?
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I think it's the perfect moment to have such a discussion. It's very hard to affirm a strict hierarchy between this, let's say, success factors. But I really think, especially in this part of Europe, but in the whole Europe also, we need a sort of reindustrialization, and oriented towards defense industry. I think it's a big chance to have this instrument, this safe instrument, and I think if until now or recently maybe the defense sector has been considered also only as a, let's say, part sector of the economy, now it's clear, I hope, for everybody that it's a strategic direction, a strategic component of the security of Europe overall. Of course, if we are speaking of the time horizon of safe for 4 to 5 years, 4 years and a half, I think this, let's say, a success indicator in 2030 should be also the integration of defense industries in Europe. And I always say during the last months when I'm speaking about SAFE, that SAFE is not everything. SAFE is an instrument. It's not everything on the horizontal layer, because there will be much more industries which will be encouraged, but also much more funds which will be encouraged. And it's not everything because it doesn't stop as a perspective after 2030. So I really hope that, let's say, in 2031 we will have much more defense industry in Romania and Poland, in Europe, very integrated between countries and in the global supply chains, but especially we should have a soil for the future developments in the next decade. And it has been from the perspective of the Ministry of Economy during these months when we discussed about cooperation criteria, but also about real deep and long-term cooperation with the private investors. It has been one of our objectives to not see SAFE as a 4 years and a half, let's say, project or set of projects, but to see it as a start in a new strategy for economy and for the defense industry in Romania. That's why I always try to, as I come rather from the private sector, I try to transmit this message to our private sector that now it's a perfect moment to have initiatives and to be adaptive, innovative, and to try in some industries to reorient towards a dual-use approach, because a dual-use approach won't be useful for 2 or 3 years. Will be useful for a lot of time since now, and it's like a competition. So whoever moves the faster, I am sure it will have a place in the future European and global supply chains. So yeah, I would say these two are the key, the first success factors. So to reindustrialize, but also to be an, I would say, unavoidable part of the European supply chains. And I think this interdependence in the current state of affairs and geopolitics is good. Sometimes there are, even in our country, some narratives which say that we should do everything by ourselves, if possible without European money, and be self-sufficient on defense. I think it's a very, very nocive narrative, and maybe Europe should be as self-sufficient as possible, but no country today can be self-sufficient in the defense industry in European Union.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's interoperability of our defense industries in Europe, and it's a huge chance for us is the European countries. So we have here representatives of 2 big European companies dedicated for defense. And my next question, I would like to move to Mr. Dr. Björn Bernhard from Rheinmetall. Rheinmetall is a huge German company which has absolutely many activities in defense sector from years. You are very active in Romania. You have some partnership and deliver some equipment also to Poland, to energy countries. And SAFE is one of the program which can create demand, but industry needs certainty. What is the biggest bottleneck today for you from your perspective, from the industrial perspective? Long-term orders, permits, skilled labor, energy, cost of energy, supply chains, political risks. What?
So, does it work?
Yes.
Yeah. Well. So from our perspective, since we are thinking in an European production network for quite a while, SAFE doesn't change too many in our mindset. It just enlarges the possibilities we now have in Europe. The problems that were caused by individual developments over the last years and decades, they are a little bit pushed aside by the SAFE programs. So we are more and more targeting into common procurement, which is good for us because that fits to the idea of having an overall network. The thing that is causing the most trouble from our side, there are two main points. The one point is, of course, the extreme time pressure. Since we are not just building ammunition, so ammunition can build quite fast, like drones and stuff like that, but we are also building heavy tracked vehicles, and the production of heavy tracked vehicles takes its time. And thus we have an extreme time pressure by the SAFE program to deliver until 2029, 2030. This is the one point, and the second point is, of course, the supply chains. Because after having 3 decades of peace and within Central and Eastern Europe, of course, the supply chains decreased. They are just went to a minimum factor, and there were times when we were very glad to find any suppliers. And now these small suppliers we had and kept them alive, we have to ramp up within a very, very short time. And then we come together with the time pressure, so this goes together, missing amount of qualified suppliers, going together with that extreme time pressure to ramp us and them up. Let's say these are the two main points from our perspective.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I can confirm from the Polish perspective that the supply chain is also absolutely critical for us, for all European defense sector. Next, my question to Mr. Éric Huber from Thales. From your perspective, what does European sovereignty mean for C4ISR? Because air defense and electronic warfare sovereignty, software, data, crypto, upgraded rights, or the simply European production. Where is the main topic for us, for our European industry?
First of all, sovereignty is a complex matter.
Yeah.
I think that
the SAFE program is one of the tools.
Exactly. So I think that on one side, the progress that has been made by most defense companies in the last few years about production and production in Europe is impressive and is significantly contributing to sovereignty. It's not uncommon to see products where the production rates have increased by a factor 3, 4, 5 in the past 2 years. In my business, the GM radar production has been multiplied by 4. Some German radars, portable, we've multiplied production by 10. And the lead times, you used to have to order 3 years in advance to get something, and now it's months, sometimes weeks. And of course, this progress has been collective, but all this investment made around industrial capabilities is contributing to sovereignty. And of course, the safe mechanism, giving some scale with a common acquisition and giving more predictability and visibility helps. But I also think that production capabilities are not enough. You also need in Europe a mastery of the design of the product, of the engineering, so that we are in control of what we produce together. We know that we come from a time where 80% or more of the defense spending in Europe was made towards foreign companies and mostly Americans. This is shifting slowly. And in this shift, production is key, but having a proper understanding of how the different equipment work, how they can work together, I think is really key. Because as the conflict is showing, now you need to evolve fast. The threats are changing, and you can only update your product every few months or weeks if you deeply master all the content of the product. And if you want to ensure interoperability between German equipment, French equipment, Romanian equipment, you need to have that engineering understanding, engineering control. So I would say in a nutshell, production capacity is key, but engineering know-how and knowledge is really important as well.
Yeah, I heard one funny, maybe not funny, story that from the beginning of NATO, only one thing which we have common for all NATO countries is the fuel for the planes. That means that now we should thinking about this cooperation, about also from the defense industry and supply chains much more seriously, and that's what we need. That's what I would like to ask our next guest, General Volodymyr HAVRYLOV, former Deputy Minister of Defense, who was Vice Minister of Defense in absolutely crucial moment for Ukrainian fight with Russia, and you have absolutely unique possibility to observe not only direct war, but also industry. How Ukrainian industry has changed during these 4 years, and from this Ukrainian battlefield perspective, what should SAFE prioritize first? What should be the main goal for the European factories, for our industry in the next 12, 24 months? Because we have, like Mr. Björn mentioned, very short time, and we must focus for something from the battlefield. What's your proposal?
The key difference in our case in Ukraine, because we are still at war, and the modern warfare is under huge, deep transformation now. It means a lot for defense industry or any who would like to supply something to military. They're all in place of the traditional equipment like tanks, artillery, or heavy equipment has changed. It's still there, but the number one place is with drones, with unmanned systems, which are cheaper, faster, easy to produce. That is a key requirement of the modern warfare. This phenomenon created a lot of challenges for the traditional defense industry, which exists in Europe and United States. In Europe and United States, a key defense industry was concentrated on very sophisticated, powerful, expensive systems, which can frighten you on paper, but in a real drone environment, they become useless. Maybe it's not pleasant to hear to somebody, but there is reassessment of that already in defense industry in Europe and United States. I know that. And not everybody is ready to digest it because there are still some groups who see the war in Ukraine as a kind of exotic war of some, God knows, tribes between themselves and with no consequences for real warriors. No, that's not true. So SAFE as a program is very important. I totally agree with the minister in reindustrialization of Europe, because what we found in 22-23, when I was a deputy minister of defense with responsibility for armament procurement, it is a total lack of capacity and capability in defense industry of Europe to provide very fast something which is effective on the battlefield. At the time, it was not about drones. It was about any kind of transport means, any kind of artillery, ammunition. And what we started to receive in 22 from our partners, it's mostly all ammunition or equipment they already had in the stocks. When we asked to increase the number of production, we found that there is no capacity in Europe at all to produce something very fast. We've been told about the 2-3 years of preparation or something like that. So the ecosystem of defense industry in Europe was not developed at the time. That's why SAFE is an instrument how to encourage that ecosystem to blossom, how to prepare them for future challenges. But defense industry can't exist without direct connection with the end user. End user, they are military. Military, they define and the requirements to equipment they would like to have. But most importantly, military, they develop the model of the war they are going to be in. They are responsible to answer the question, how you are going to fight the next war. And if you have smart military in the leadership who are thinking about that every day, and they just look at any expertise at this, they will come to the conclusion that the dynamics of the modern warfare is so fast that you have to adjust yourself permanently to something. It means your defense industry should and must be in direct connection with you every day, adjusting the designs, plans, programs. The program of creating something for 2-3 years could be relevant because in 2-3 years you will have totally different environment and the product could be not relevant to these challenges. It means to establish a direct communication and effective feedback with the military. And at the same time to teach military as well about what is going on in technological sphere. Because military, they are good executors. They are not very good in kind of innovations or just following some kind of technological things which are just existing somewhere in the bottom. That's why it's important to feed them about the possible solutions which they can use in future warfare, but these solutions should be cheap, fast to understand, easy to deploy, and easy to scale up. In case of crisis, you should be very confident that behind you is an ecosystem of industry which can react to your demands and needs very fast. With very simple, sometimes solutions, but the next day, maybe in 2 days, maybe 1 month, but not in years. If you have that cycle 1 year, you're a loser in the modern world. Development of this cheap robotic type system, and I'm not talking about artificial intelligence coming to battlefield, demands a lot of engagement of defense industry with military all together, working on the same subject. If you're concentrated only on profit, you're a loser. If you're concentrated only on the numbers, you're a loser. You should think about the quality, effectiveness, and budget prices. It's reality. Today we're in transformation. We still have a traditional equipment which is important. Tanks, artillery, not on the same role. So every military should know how to use them in this new environment. At the same time, we have to think about how to protect this equipment against drones. If you are not able to protect them, they will disappear from the battlefield in future. If you are capable to protect them, and I saw in the Rheinmetall presentation today that there are some branches in the company dedicated to that, about the passive protection, other things. If you succeed to protect your equipment, you can still be relevant at the battlefield on some way, not totally. About the priorities, I would like to stress Europe is very limited with several things which were provided by United States. And because of this situation with the American administration, we all started to feel that deficit. And this deficit should be just filled with something. Number one is air defense against ballistic missiles. Not against classic aircraft or cruise missiles, against ballistic missiles. There is no capability like Patriot in Europe yet. Some yes, there is a system which is in improvement stage now. We hope that improved version of this system will be more effective in Ukraine. But Europe should have several systems like that, competing between each other to provide the best effects for less money. Air defense against ballistic missiles is very expensive, sophisticated things which can't be replaced with drone interceptors or something like that. It needs other solutions, and Europe should concentrate on that. And I hope SAFE will create this window of opportunity for industries in Europe to do that. Second, there is no ballistic capability in Europe, ballistic missile capability. I am talking about deep strike, long-range strikes using ballistic missiles. Not cruise missiles, there are some solutions, but also it would be helpful. But ballistic missiles, which are available only in the United States and some prototypes here in Europe, that is the area which need to be developed because it's the only thing which can be a game changer in case of Russia, for example. In Ukraine, we have challenges with both these areas. We never had a ballistic missiles on the ranges of 2,000 kilometers, for example, even 3 or 100. We never produced them. Ukraine was manufacturing only space launchers. And many Russian ballistic missiles now, they are Ukrainian origin. I mean nuclear carriers, not the ballistic missiles like they're using against Ukraine. That's why we started to develop from zero some kind of capability. And I hope this summer we will test something of Ukrainian domestic design as ballistic missile against Russian targets. And we don't have time to test them in the ranges. We test it directly to the battlefield. With lessons learned, is it okay or not? We already tested our cruise missiles because nobody gave us Tomahawk type missiles or something like that. So we tested, you had that story about Flamingo. And now we have targets deep in Russia up to 2,000 kilometers for cruise missiles and drones. It's because of desperate situation. We had no time to wait for somebody who will provide political decision to support deliveries. So, but we are not complaining, it's okay. So sometimes it's better to have certainty that there is no support from outside and your brain becomes more adrenaline filled. Sometimes it's even helpful. So these two areas are number one, I think. So air defense against ballistic and ballistic capability itself, and also anything related to situation awareness. Situation awareness is a key thing of the modern warfare. You have to know where the enemy is down to the soldier on the ranges of up to 200, 300, 500 kilometers. And after that only you can think about how to kill them. But if you don't know where the enemy is down to the soldier, you have a trouble. It means you have to use different sensors, not only radars of different sizes. You have to use acoustic sensors, airborne or ground related. You have to use seismic sensors, optic sensors, everything, but integrated in one common picture. And to have very clear, proved information about what is going in the battlefield. That's the area where Europe can contribute a lot, with very sophisticated system which Thales and Rheinmetall can produce. It's in short. So I see, once again, I support the minister, the SAFE program as an instrument to rebuild the capacity of Europe as a defense industry power, but with priorities on the new generations of warfare which is coming to this life, and to be realistic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a very, very important speech, I think. And what you mentioned, it's created for me next question, frankly speaking. Who in our democratic countries, where we have procurement law, we have general staff, Minister of Defense, Minister of Economy, who should decide it in our countries how it looks next battlefield, how it looks next war, what we should do order just now? Because I'm sure that industry needs very clear message. And you are ready to produce everything, what's almost everything, but you need mainly time, what you said. Like we see, the money is in Europe is not a problem, because I'm sure that the SAFE is on the first project, and on the European level we will have next year's absolutely new projects dedicated for our security, for our safety. So maybe for the first part of my question, Minister, from your perspective, you are politician, who should decide that just now, and who will order, who knows what we should order in our industry?
Thank you for the question.
I know that
if I have a restrained answer, but I will build a bit upon what Mr. General said. First of all, I was thinking, I come from the software industry, and I was thinking that maybe it's not for nothing that your Ministry of Digital Transformation became the Minister of Defense, because the same way of thinking, of course, in a more futile, let's say, environment, but the same way of status quo thinking, which was obliged to be changed, has happened in the software industry 10 or 20 years ago. And we were going from projects planned for years to projects planned from month to month, or from 2 weeks to 2 weeks, and very oriented toward the customer's needs. it's a very good question who should define these priorities, but I think true, and we already have discussions, Europe already has discussions through real deep cooperation with Ukraine. In this real and difficult situation, we could find a solution. Because it could be a win-win cooperation where we, the European countries, really help Ukraine in a more efficient way. And on the other side, on a real battlefield, which nobody wanted, we could test, as you test in Ukraine, new technologies. And I really think we should go very fast in this cooperation and on one side help, on the other side receive feedback from the harsh reality which is on the field. I really don't know, because I was thinking, by listening, I was thinking, of course, in all this, let's say, safe definitions efforts, we in the Ministry of Economy, we were rather thinking of some economic-centered policies. I don't have an answer if the current army or armies, if we speak about Europe, have a clear understanding of what happens on the field. So I think through cooperation and dialogue between the armies and through testing on a real battlefield, we could find an answer. I'm not a specialist, but I think the answer doesn't, I guess that the answer doesn't, it cannot be found inside, I don't know, walls or ministries on the paper. They should be found on real conditions, and unfortunately we have real conditions just next to us.
Thank you very much. Yes, of course.
If you don't mind, just to continue. When the war started in 22, we had a traditional military leadership, as in Europe, with so-called maneuver warfare learning, how to fight wars using the techniques of end of 20th century. And it was for us a real challenge how to introduce new technologies on the battlefield, because the leadership, military leadership at the time was not familiar with that kind of things. For them it was more comfortable to fight the way they were taught. It took some time, and not because of some change of mind on the top, because of a lot of activities on the ground. Most of the innovations related to unmanned systems and drones, they started at the ground in units, because we mobilized a lot of volunteers in 22, came to recruitment centers from industry, from IT, from technological companies, and then they found themselves among traditional military on the ground. They found that there are other ways to conduct this war. And they started to advise and offer some small solutions on the ground in units. Sometimes the leadership, military leadership in the headquarters, not knowing about that. But only step by step that idea started to prove themselves, and after that to raise up to the high level step by step. But in any case, introduction of new technologies and keeping the level of innovations depends on the personalities. It means that the right people should be in the right position with open mind approach. So they have to be energizers of that change. It means that in the current situation in Europe, it's not possible to expect from the current military a lot of activities in changing the mind of the technological war. Because most of them, they're conservative military. I am a military myself from. Military, they are very conservative. They like to follow the rules and they don't like a lot of changes. That's why it means it's very important to appoint, if there is a political will in the country, to the key positions, not in the high level, but in the next to them. Some guys who can start that thing and they know what it's all about, and they will push at the beginning this transformation of military. personalities, individuals, humans, they are in the middle of transformation. If you don't have that set of people, you are wasting time. It will take a long time before you get them. If you are interested to get it fast, you have to appoint, select, to find, appoint them very fast. Now we have, for example, commander of our unmanned system command. Commander in any country is a general with a long career, usually, traditionally. It's a former sergeant who was mobilized in 22 from some kind of IT business. But he proved to be very innovative on his level, and step by step, his unit became most effective with drone deployment, and now he's a commander of this command, and they are doing an incredible job now. With 2.5% of personnel from the number of armed forces, they provide 30% of losses to Russia. And the ambition is, with 5% of personnel, to provide 50% of losses with unmanned system command to Russians. It's a different war, but it requires different people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think not only different people, but absolutely different procedures. So it means that probably we need war to change our mindset and procurement systems. In Poland, for example, we have tests of new ammunition. We need something like more or less 3 years. On Ukraine, now you tested on 3 weeks.
45 days we have.
45 days. Ah, okay. So that's the difference. Yeah, so we focused on this matter. So my next question to Mr. Bernhard from Rheinmetall. Ukraine shown that innovation cycles in war are now measured in weeks, not years. What must change on the European procurement system from when we looked for Ukraine to learn from some lessons from Ukraine, that our industry, our industry, which must know what they should to produce, and how business, how the European companies can move on this way. What's your perspective, and what we should implement from Ukraine? What generals said? What's your dream?
What's my dream? So in the end, I'm fully supportive to what the general said, because we need a kind of double approach, a parallel system. So the traditional systems, from our perspective, they won't disappear completely, because there will always be men or women crews on the battlefield somewhere. But we won't see them so much in the death zone or in the kill zone anymore, of course. Of course, the procurement always starts with a doctrine. So we have planning agencies that set the doctrine, and then the procurement and the staffing is put down to the procurement process. And this is too slow. And this is just too slow. So in my vision, as you asked me for, we would have a double approach. We have faster thinking units that start a procurement process for new systems also in parallel, and that work together with the industry to keep the procurement up to date. I mean, in the end, there is a significant difference between the unmanned systems and the traditional systems. The unmanned systems are much cheaper, so you can change the approach or also during the procurement process. And this has to be evolved somehow. This is, from my perspective, the only way we could do it, but we can't see an approach, to be honest, within the European forces apart from Ukraine up to now. What we try to do from the industry side is to help them thinking about what we can do to protect the manned vehicles, what we can do to defend against drones, but also what would be a scenario beyond drones already. So we try to do the thinking, but we can't do it alone. We need the forces.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very, very much. We have much more clear situation. Next question to Mr. Éric Huber from Thales. Thales is a representative of big European industry, and from your perspective, you have cooperation in many countries in our region. And how much, using the money from the SAFE program or maybe another, how much you are ready to invest or to cooperate with the industries in our region, eastern flank? And you see some chance to for the strategic cooperation, or we, I mean European, will use this money for friendly competition?
No, yes, we are willing to cooperate and to increase our activities everywhere in Europe. Being a European company has been in Thales' DNA for decades. Mm-hmm. We have a significant presence in France, of course, where we come from, but we are also the national, typically radar manufacturer of the Netherlands. We have a significant presence in the UK, same in Germany. So we are a European company at heart, and most of our products have already several countries component in the way they are designed. Not to mention the supply chain, which has always been European. And now when we talk about air defense systems that connect different kinds of sensors and effectors and missiles, of course, we put together parts coming from different countries, and then I think that is a strength. And to come back briefly on your previous question, it also helps us interact with many more armed forces at the same time, and based on their feedback, have better ideas about what the future can bring, and on our side suggest solutions. Of course, I have Ukrainian officers coming to my facilities on a monthly basis, and we learn a lot about what's happening, and we try to inject that in the future roadmaps that we then propose to the different governments. And now coming to Eastern Europe, of course, we are doing more, and we will do more and more in the future. Our strategy is to have local activity everywhere the volume makes economic sense. We want to produce fast, we want to produce cheap, and we want to produce as close as possible to the use. And when we can get all three, then we work. We are always flexible in the way we find such agreement. It can be Thales premises, it can be a partner. I'm convinced that through the SAFE program, which again provides scale and visibility, these cooperations that we have already will multiply. But to give you a number, Thales typically has been active in Romania for many years. It's one of our biggest engineering center, and we already have more than 850 engineers working in Romania for Thales on different products that are routinely used in Ukraine. And we will do that more in the future.
Yes, yes, of course.
I would add two ideas very quickly, rather as a politician. But one is a small food of thought. If we speak so much about the 28th regime and the need for Europe to reduce bureaucracy and to do things faster from the innovation perspective, maybe we should extend this, let's say, umbrella, conceptual umbrella, to the military side also. What would mean for Europe, not for a country in particular, a 28th regime for military in order to advance towards a good European common defense? And the second idea, because you asked the question before about sovereignty, and the first question was about priorities. I think sovereignty could be an empty shell if we are not very sincere. Sovereignty can be very temporarily, can be very apparent, can be very weak if we are not ready for the long-term approach and adaptive approach. And I think with SAFE, also with other instruments that will appear, with the adaptation for the procurement and so on, this is the way we should search for, the way towards real European common sovereignty, and it's not easy. I think, as General very well said, Ukraine has been forced to go through a very fast track by confronting the reality. We, in the rest of countries, Eastern or Western, we have the chance to acknowledge the harsh reality and to prepare some years in advance. I think time hasn't no patience anymore, so we should act and we should find the answer to this question: how to assure long-term sovereignty in an effective way, but for the modern warfare.
But that's the good question, and we should start it from the EU level or the countries level to show
Very good question.
the
I started with the 28th regime, my thoughts. So, yeah, sometimes maybe it's easier at the common level that separated.
I think that we have also good samples which are boring just now, separately, not from the EU level, not countries level, but cooperations by some countries. Like Nordic countries, now they made some procurement, common procurement for uniforms, for example, for some individual equipment. So they made on the local level. Maybe that's the way for also for our countries.
It's a bit like in digital transformation. Sometimes we should accept part of the status quo, in my opinion, even in digitalization, but we could open a branch of innovation with people, real people, task forces which have this objective to innovate. And then we'll see how this branch will reunite with the status quo, and then we'll speed up the innovation. But I think real people with real money, with real budgets, should work on these challenges, not inside the status quo.
Okay, so it means that we have money, we have people, we have ready industry to produce, but we should change our mainly procedures and thinking. My last question to General HAVRYLOV about Ukraine, because SAFE allows Ukraine to contribute to participate in joint procurement in SAFE program. Also, cooperation, of course, with the European industry. And from your perspective, your experience, what would be the best model? European buying for Ukraine, Ukraine cooperating and producing with Europe, or Europe invest in Ukraine in common production? What could be the best and fruitful, not only for Ukraine, but for the common future, for the common production and our European industry?
For Ukrainian companies, it's important to be engaged in that program, SAFE, in some role. Unfortunately, there is lack of knowledge and understanding in Ukraine how do it practically. Because according to SAFE, there should be kind of connections between the industry in the country with Ukrainian companies, and Ukrainian companies can be as a subcontractors or like that. But the procedure, evil is in detail. So why? In Ukraine, only in the drone industry, we have around 500 companies. From small one, 2 people working on FPV, to bigger one with up to 1,000 people. Most of them, they don't read even newspapers. They just fighting, they are in touch with the units, and so for them, even the words safe doesn't mean it's about some safety, that's it. So they need clear advice and consulting about the opportunities for them in this system, and they should be assisted to engage in SAFE. I think that, of course, all of them are interested because of the resources. All of them are fighting the survival because of lack of resources. And there is a tough competition for resources. That's why they're interested to be in some kind of role in SAFE program, where additional resources can assist them to continue their work in Ukraine, first of all. They're ready for any kind of thing which realistic. It could be joint ventures, maybe it should be subcontract for delivery of some subsystems for something. Maybe it could be involvement in a joint design of something for joint ventures. All these kind of things. And so we need a kind of some task force inside SAFE which can engage Ukrainian companies and assist them to come there. Some companies are interested in production outside of Ukraine for safety reason. Because of the Russian attacks on our infrastructure and some key things related to missile technologies and others, for us it's more interesting to produce outside of Ukraine. Maybe as a part of this SAFE program, some on territory of Romania, to produce some kind of engines for something, or maybe some warheads for something, together. In this case, both sides, they learn what is all about new ideas, because Ukraine knows what we need. We have a feedback, lessons learned from the end users. You have engineering, you have a knowledge here, and together they can produce a good result. But once again, time is important. If it's a very fast track, it's okay. If it takes months for bureaucracy, some customs things, or God knows what, it could be a question. But money available in SAFE are very attractive to our industry. And they should be, our company should be just taught how to engage the program.
Okay, thank you very much. I think and I hope that we will use SAFE and other programs to rebuild our industry and our defense cooperation in the region. One comment for Minister? You would like to add something?
Let's do it together.
Together.
That's all.
Okay. So thank you very much for this discussion, and see you on the next panels. Thank you.